Hey MotoCrew family and the internet world, it's Kristian Daniel Jr. coming at you with another Race Dad Diaries. This is number 3. And today I want to talk about the process. The process meaning for a race parent, the process of helping their kid improve, right? It's just like working out or learning Spanish or any other kind of goal where you start off at one level and there's a process that you have to work through to get to another level. It's really hard with kids because the in between the starting point and the end point can be kind of boring and frustrating, and it's challenging. And then of course that falls on the shoulders of the race parent because we have to then manage their emotions about boredom and frustration and lack of patience and all those different things. So I went through it. I'm still going through it because Kristian Daniel Jr. is still, developing as a rider, and he's got a lot of years to go. At some point, I'll pass that buck to somebody more qualified than me, but for right now, that's one of my jobs, one of my many jobs. Other ones are, I'm also a part-time mechanic, as it turns out. I didn't know that. Anyway, so I just wrote down a few things so I can organize my train of thought here, and I'll try to rattle them off in an order that makes sense. So the process of getting better, let's say at motorcycling as a whole, I think is broken up into a whole bunch of different smaller accomplishments or skill sets that you have to work on, right? You can't just say I want to get faster, because getting faster has a whole bunch of different elements to that. And I think that you can apply this process to those separate elements and respect the process, right? You have to set a goal. A goal, if you're the race parent and your kid is the racer, you need to set a goal that you both agree is important and is understood, and that the kid understands how this will help their racing. An example of that is he wanted to work on his corner entry speed. I think every rider wants to work on their corner entry speed, and that's just how quickly they're entering the corner before they lean it in and get through the corner and those kind of things. The process of pushing that point it can be scary for any rider, especially a kid. So that's one thing that we had to work on, and he at first was really hesitant about pushing that because it's scary. But as soon as we accomplished that goal through a lot of practice, immediately when he was on track with other people, he saw how valuable of an asset corner entry speed was, because immediately that translated to being able to pass people. I'm not saying that corner entry speed is one of the first things that you should work on with your kid. I'm just saying that that is an example of one of the things that we worked on that he immediately was able to go out and see results on. Having a goal that you both agree on is important. Including your child in the decision-making process of what they're improving is also important. Yes, you may have a higher understanding, or the coach may have a higher understanding, but at the beginning levels, or I'm not too sure how far up the line it goes, but I feel that it's important for the rider or the kid to be involved in the process. The second part of the process that I think is very, very, very important is patience. And patience has to do with the rider and with the parent, because I'm a competitive parent. I'm assuming that any parent that's getting their child into racing competitively, or is even watching this video maybe about how to have a better coaching racer relationship, is competitive, right? So we kind of have to understand that the process of improving anything takes time. It takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of time. Getting faster, like I said, if we're breaking it up into a whole bunch of different processes, then you have to have patience in each process, and they really have to master or get really, really, really good at one process before they move on to the next. We take time and we work through them, and a couple of notes that I wrote here to deal with when you have a parent or a child that's very competitive and wants to get faster now is frustration. It's very easy as a parent to get frustrated, and it's very easy for a child that's trying to learn something new that's really hard and maybe scary. It's frustrating that maybe it takes longer than they thought. So in the beginning, I was talking about setting a goal. At that time, it's really good to explain to the kid that it's going to take time for them to be as good as they need to be exceptional at whatever skill you're working at. Throttle control is a great example. That's something, even till today, we still work on throttle control. And some people say flat track, and some people say you don't need flat track, and wrote all kinds of different things. I don't subscribe to any one. I don't know if there's one path to get to the top of the mountain, but throttle control, however you practice it, is really critical. A lot of the drills that you see us do online, it's really hard to do those drills if you don't have proper throttle control, and a lot of things tie back into that. It balances the bike out, it will help you out of crashes, it does all kinds of different things. So throttle control was a very frustrating thing for Kristian to learn because it took so much time to be good enough to where it made a difference. So I think at the beginning, when you're setting the goal with the child, throttle control is an example. You might say, hey, remember how you kept tucking the front here? Remember how the bike felt really jerky when you're trying to go slowly through the turn? Remember how, let's say on flat track, you wanted to get on the gas and it was doing all kinds of stuff. A lot of that ties back into throttle control. So we agreed that throttle control is important. We worked on throttle control maybe for 2 months, 2 times a week for like 2 months, through a whole bunch of different drills. And he was frustrated. There are times that he was upset, he cried. So if your child cries, it's okay. It's because it's frustrating and it's hard. They want to be faster, they're competitive, and it takes time. Racers don't have a lot of patience. That's why the number two thing I put on there was patience. You have patience with their emotions and their children, and they're trying to develop the ability to learn something new, and explain that patience, on top of getting faster, having patience is also important. And I think that that's important. Actually, both of the things that I mentioned are important outside of the world of motorcycling, because if Kristian comes home with a math assignment and it's really difficult, sometimes he lacks patience and he wants to figure it out immediately, and it's so difficult that I need to remind him, just like in motorcycling, it may take you longer than you expected to get this done, and if you have patience, you'll figure it out. You just got to give yourself time. Don't be upset at yourself. Don't be frustrated because it's too hard. Just relax, have patience, empty your mind, and move through the process. The third thing that I think it's good to capture is proof and trust. Once they trust this process that you're trying to present to them about patience and practice and work, once you have one accomplishment, for instance, like I said, corner entry speed, once his corner entry speed improved, and then on the track he was able to use that skill to start passing people, I talked about it a lot. That way we could reference back to that when we're working on other things. At that point I had proof that, hey, you worked really hard on this, it was frustrating, it was boring at times, it was hard, but here is the end result. Once you accomplish that goal, use that goal to develop trust, it will make the process easier. The one concept that a race parent, I think, needs to remember in all of this is to keep the process fun. Keep the process fun.
Keep the process fun.
I would say spend the most of your time keeping it fun. Seat time is super important. The more time they have on the bike, the better. Everybody knows that. But I think that the quality of their riding and what they learn is much higher when they're enjoying it. If it's brutal, it's like doing push-ups or sit-ups. If you don't enjoy whatever it is that you're doing, I don't think you're going to be learning as much. I've witnessed it with Kristian. So what that looks like, for instance, is I try to find different drills online that I see other kids doing, and I'll introduce them to Kristian, and some of them he doesn't enjoy doing, which sometimes we have to do them anyway, like figure eights. That's not his favorite drill. He does them because he knows they're important, but that's not his favorite drill. Where he has the other ones like the Super 8 that I showed you. That drill is probably his favorite drill right now. So I try to find things that will work on something specific that he also enjoys doing. That way he can ride so much that maybe I have to flag him down to stop riding. So while he's doing that, he's learning things and developing skills without me having to push him and force him to do more and more and more and more and more. Because that is frustrating and taxing for both of the parent and the child. To recap, agree on an end goal, have patience. Both the parent and the rider need to develop patience. Try to capture some proof once you make it through the process, or if you have an example of somebody else that's been through the process that you can talk about, use that as proof and keep it fun. Find out what about riding your child enjoys, how to create drills and exercises that they really enjoy doing. So if it's just you and your kid, or your 3 kids like my buddy Ed Fiasco, he's got 3 boys. If it's just you and your kid, it's really important for you to find a way for them to enjoy being on the bike and enjoy, the process of getting better. That's all I have. So thank you so much for watching. I hope it helped at least one person or a group of people. I know I've got some really great feedback on the other Race Dad Diary entries that I've made. So this is the end of the Race Dad Diaries 3. I'll try to put some more content out there. Oh, like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you find this video. And thank you so much. Leave some comments. If you have any questions or you have some ideas that you'd like me to touch on, please talk about it, okay? Until then, I'll talk to you later.
Perfect.